You don't have anything to talk about. Greetings, friends. It's Josh.
And I'm Ryan.
And this is Daniel.
And we're here today for another exciting episode of the Dead Tired Dads podcast, which is a podcast for gamers who do not have time to game. Do you see what I did there? You see what I did? Did you guys hear the difference? I said do not have time to game instead of don't.
Hey.
Are we professional now?
I
think we're professional.
expanded the contraction.
Look out.
Ooh. I don't know.
Watch out, folks. Next is coming a business letter directed to whom it may concern, :
Oh, man. So, podcast for gamers who don't have time to game, and you gotta embrace the contraction. It doesn't feel right not to. We're here to talk about some video games. It's November, and we're going to review some games that we've been playing, or have played in the past, or something along those lines. Something. We're going to talk about video games today. But before we do that, I have to tell you guys, I learned something about shopping recently.
It's a good time to learn that.
Yeah, as an adult male, sometimes shopping is something that I have to do. Buying food for my family is important.
Moderately
important for a dead tired dad. And I recently bought some oatmeal cream pies, which I have, it's one of those things that, I would eat as a kid, and they're great. It's fine, wonderful. I bought some, and not something that I've typically bought. I don't know that we've ever had them or ever given them to our children. But I bought some. I gave them to the kids, and they were like, "Oh, these are great." And I was like, "Perfect. I'm gonna get these. I'm gonna put them in the snack drawer." And it's a new snack thing that we can give. So I went to Walmart, and there was a package that was like jumbo oatmeal cream pie.
Heck yeah.
And I'm thinking jumbo packaging, right? So there's more oatmeal cream pies in it, and I'm like, yes, give me the bulk packaging, because that's cheaper, right? Like cheaper to buy in bulk. I get them home, and no, it's not that the packaging was bulk. It's that the oatmeal cream pies were giant.
Face-sized.
They're like ginormous oatmeal cream pies.
Need this in my life.
You actually don't.
Wrong. Wrong.
You actually don't.
Wrong.
The thing about the oatmeal cream pie, the original oatmeal cream pie, it is the perfect blend of like savory and sweet. Like the cream is sweet.
It's got a little saltiness with
like
the oatmeal.
And exactly. The giant ones, the balance is all off. There's too much cream. It is way too sweet, and it's just wrong, and I don't like it, but I have to eat them now, and I can't give them to my kids, because then
it's entirely too much.
It's too much for the kids. And so I'm like, I have to eat these, and so I'm like forcing myself, like every day at lunch, I'm just like, I'm gonna eat another one of these giant oatmeal cream pies and choke it down.
You should give them to me, and I will
go get
make
you one.
this sacrifice for my friend
right now.
Josh, your life is so difficult, and Ryan is such a good friend. Yeah. I'm not doing that for you.
No, but it's the weirdest thing, because I thought, well, no big deal, like it will be like, it's just a big oatmeal cream pie, and I was like, we'll just split them in half and give them to the kids, and it's like, no, you can't do that, because the cream it's not spread evenly.
Yeah.
And it seeps. It seeps. And so like you end up, it's either all in the middle, and you like end up with like this giant glob of sugar, and it's just it's so much. It's so bad.
You haven't said one thing to change my mind. Not one.
Oh man, no, it's just it's so bad. It's so bad. I want to get rid of them.
What's really funny about that is we just bought oatmeal cream pies like a week or two ago.
Nice.
And it was like a double pack.
Oh, see, like that's what I thought I was buying.
Like there was a cardboard divider in the box because it needed a shelf to add the extra.
Yeah, there was a cardboard divider in this one too, except it's because they were so heavy.
It was to support the weight.
They didn't want to crush the ones underneath.
That's amazing.
No, it's so weird because again, you think, yeah, this is great, just more oatmeal cream pie. It throws off the ratio.
I have my doubts.
The ratio to cream to oatmeal cookie is way off. It's bad.
In the spirit of genuine inquiry, Ryan will take one for the team.
I will experiment.
And boldly go where only Josh has gone before.
Yeah, but anyway, so just note to self and note to all of you out there, make sure you're paying attention to your purchases and that you're not buying, when you're thinking that you're buying in bulk, that you're not buying just giant things of individually wrapped oatmeal cream pie cookies.
I feel like the only thing that our listeners are going to settle for is me eating one and on the next episode giving my take on whether or not they're good.
I'll go get it right now.
Because I have my doubts about what you're saying.
We will pause this episode right now. I will go get it, and you can give your review of it right now. I'm down for that. Like we can 100% do that.
I mean, Dead Tired Dad's food episode.
Okay.
The world needs us.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Fine.
We'll wait. We're literally pausing.
We're pausing.
I love this so much. I love this so much. The theme carries of me and food. I love it.
And we're back. Ryan is just finishing off the oatmeal cream pie here. We have done a science, and we have an immediate response here from our boy Ryan.
I knew you were wrong, Josh. I knew it.
So
it's an oatmeal cream pie.
According to Ryan, it is not. The ratio is not thrown off.
Nothing wrong with it.
I think he's absolutely wrong.
All right, but is it a real science if we didn't make him eat a regular one too? There was no control to this.
You're right. There was no control. Also, we didn't have a panel of experts, but other than myself, and I say that a regular oatmeal cream pie is a good ratio. A giant oatmeal cream pie the ratio is thrown off.
You know what? Let's just keep in mind that we are an excellent company with replication issues in our studies. So we're going to take this study at face value for your viewing pleasure.
I loved it.
So 1 out of 2 experts agree. 50% of all the experts agree that the oatmeal to cream ratio is thrown off by the giant oatmeal cream pies.
Remember, friends, stats don't lie. People do.
People do.
Anyway. So, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So, maybe you should try the giant oatmeal cream pies. It's whatever.
I mean, to be fair, because, I try to be fair.
Okay.
It is a long-standing joke on this show that there's not many sugary treats.
That's true.
That I don't like.
Ryan will eat anything.
I can be picky about non-sugary stuff, but most sugary stuff is like, yeah, give me that. So...
Maybe we chose the wrong test subject. I should have given it to Daniel. Daniel is
oh no, we got to pause the show again.
I think we're done. This experiment's over. Government cut off our funding.
Now, if any grant writer in the audience would like to step forward, we do have opportunities available.
There are 100% grant opportunities here. Like we are
ready,
ripe for grant funding.
We will build a butterfly garden if there are monies for said butterfly garden.
I don't know, man. We'll do something. Oh, good gracious. We have gone off the rails. This is good. This is going to be a great episode.
This is a great episode. The first time in Dead Tired Dad's history, we paused the show for one of us to eat something.
We should have had some of our conversation. We might put that at the end.
So that we could review it.
We'll put some of that conversation at the end, maybe if you're lucky. You'll end up with some of the conversations that were going on.
Get a rip track, or no, that's not what they're called.
A riff track.
A riff track.
Yeah, there you go. Of Ryan eating the oatmeal cream pie. Woo boy,
love it.
So now that we've had some food discussion, we'll move on to some video games. Maybe
standard part of our show, food discussion.
Right. The part 1 where we discuss food. Part 2 where we discuss video games.
It's kind of a thing now at this point. Like,
great. Now we're a food podcast.
It happens.
I don't know what's going on
Food and
anymore.
video games go hand in hand.
I've lost control of this situation. That's okay. It's good. Ryan, why don't you said you were telling me that you've got an unconventional thing that you're going to do here. So
I do have an unconventional
We've
thing.
already done one unconventional thing. Why don't we move on to another?
More. So I'm going to
Keep us
review a game.
Ryan's review. Okay, well that's not unconventional.
That's not
at all.
unconventional.
Okay.
I'm going to review a game that I have not played.
Well, that's just bonkers.
I know, it's crazy.
Can he do that?
I guess so.
There ought to be a law.
You probably can't do that, but you also can't eat oatmeal cream pies in the middle of an episode. But we did that.
We did that too. So
why not?
So tell me about this game that you haven't played.
Okay, so I'm not really reviewing it. I'm more discussing it. I mentioned on the news episode last time that the new Dragon Age game
Dragon Age
came out.
The game that I don't know about.
Oh, speaking of, since Daniel's here this time, we have to ask Daniel. Daniel, Josh, how did you phrase it? You said, "Is it bad that I don't know what Dragon Age is?" Is that what you?
Yeah, that said something like that.
Do I need to answer that hopefully rhetorical question?
Yes.
I didn't know how to answer. Is it bad that Josh
that I
doesn't
haven't
know what
heard
Dragon
of
Age is?
Dragon Age?
You know, Josh,
As a franchise?
considering your tragic aversion to role-playing games, it probably is par for the course.
Okay, that's good. That's fair. That's good. That makes me feel better.
The city judge probably will throw the book at you. Just forewarning, we'll get you good counsel.
I feel like I may have seen it. It's just not something that ever interested me. Like, so I might have seen something about it, but it's just not something that's ever stood out to me as, oh, that's a franchise.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Dragon Age, which you haven't played yet.
So I have not played it yet, and I probably won't
Okay.
because I'm very frustrated. I'm very mad.
Okay. Angry at Dragon Age,
So, Dragon Age is made by BioWare,
which you love.
which I love. And one of the things, so this is let me get this right, 4th Dragon Age game.
Okay.
There was Dragon Age 2, Dragon Age Inquisition, and now Dragon Age The Veilguard.
Okay.
In the first 3 games, if you played on the same console, your choices from game to game would carry over.
Right.
And would impact the story. Something they're doing with this game is almost none of your choices can carry over.
Okay.
And that's kind of been a staple of the series. There's like 2 or 3 choices max that you can carry over, and they're all very insignificant.
Well, how do you know they're insignificant? You haven't played the game. Maybe they radically affect.
Because I went and did spoilers and looked it up because that's how angry I was. Well, one of them, the director just said so.
Oh, okay.
They just came right out and said it. But
that's stupid.
So yeah, all these decisions. So if you're playing through this franchise, you've played 3 games up to this point, where your whole game is different depending on these choices you've made, and now they're just like, nah, throw that away. We're not gonna keep that. So that really, like, as soon as they announced that, I said, oh, I'm not playing this game.
Oh, okay.
And then another thing they did, which I'm going to be very, very careful here, because it's not something we do on this show. Without saying what, and without giving any spoilers or discussing it, they have taken this game and used it to get very political.
Oh, of course.
And if you listen to this show, you know we just don't talk about that.
No.
Don't do that to games.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
It's not necessary. In fact, more often than not, you alienate half your audience and they don't want your game, which is exactly what's happening to them right now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the combination of those 2 factors of we're going to throw away this rich history we have, plus also we're going to get political, I was like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just absolutely tanking in the reviews right now. It's, it's bombing.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, now, granted, this is just me, because this is not my style of game. Clearly, I've never really even heard of the franchise. I have no dog in the fight, so I don't care. But for me, just kind of thinking about it, like it's kind of cool to have a game that carries over like decisions that you've made from thing to thing. Like that's a cool concept. I get that.
Right, that was a huge success for Mass Effect.
Yeah. Also BioWare. So that's their thing.
Hey.
Gotcha. I do wonder though, like how long, like from a development standpoint, like I can get where you'd be like, okay, well, like if they've made these decisions, we have to like, and just being just like, you know what? Let's just start fresh.
Yeah.
And like, so I can kind of understand. I can understand why they might want to do that, even though they've already set the precedent.
So I initially thought, because of the new consoles and stuff like that, I thought kind of maybe that's why they were doing that. But then so Dragon Age Inquisition, if you play it all the way through and including the DLC, ends with a huge sort of spoiler / cliffhanger. Like a theory that a lot of people had throughout multiple games gets confirmed, plus a major cliffhanger. And people have been waiting for that cliffhanger to get answered for like, I don't know, 10 years maybe, give or take. So I thought maybe what they were doing with this game is we're just going to kind of go in a whole new direction, kind of like they did with Mass Effect Andromeda. Mm-hmm. The first 3 games were its own story. This is a new thing. They're not related. But what they're actually doing with this game is essentially picking up right where it left off. But okay, so I want to not give too much away. The way magic works in the game, there's a big cliffhanger at the end of game 3.
Right.
And it's supposed to be like only certain people can do this, and it's a very rare, special, super, powerful thing that only a few people can do.
Okay.
This game essentially says, no, lots of people can do it, and, it was just a...
We just thought only a few people could do it.
Yeah, nah. Psych! It was kind of like, psych, just kidding.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was one of those things where it was just multiple factors for me. It was like, no, I can't play this game.
It's so hard to continue on with development of games like that. I don't know. I like I said, I have no dog in the fight, so it doesn't matter to me. But like, I can see why you might do that, but I can also understand like why you might want to go away from something. But also, if you've established a lore, you should stick to your lore, right? You've got the game Bible for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? You have to play within your world that you built.
Here's a really good analogy for you. How did you feel when you were watching the newest Star Wars trilogy and they were like, just kidding, that's not how the Force works at all?
Right, yeah.
That's what happened here.
Yeah, no.
I would have been okay if they just went a whole new direction and like, this is a new,
Right, yeah.
That's fine. But to just pull one of those plus get political, I was like, no, I'm good. I'm out.
Okay.
So that's why it's unconventional, is because I'm actually not going to play this game. But,
even though...
For reasons.
Yeah,
and
that's a crying shame.
Yeah, I loved the first 3. And in fact, all the news and hype about it releasing recently has me wanting to go back and play the first 3.
Yeah.
Which I'll probably do.
Yeah. Well, it is too bad that, that you've got a situation like that where there is... And for me, the game that does that for me is Assassin's Creed, right? I loved the first few Assassin's Creeds. Like, I just absolutely loved them. I thought they were great. Something new and different and creative and just a different way to approach gaming or to approach a game. And then it just was the same thing over and over. And I'm just like, I'm not like... I am very interested to explore that world. No, I don't need another Assassin's Creed. It would be really cool to play. Like, I haven't played... The last one I played, even, I think, was Origins. And I didn't beat it because it was just, like... I just don't care enough. Like
Yeah.
it's there's too much going on here. Like it's literally I'm just overwhelmed with this. I just like, and so I would be interested to go in and play like the was it Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I think. That was like ancient Greek, which seemed really like that would be a really cool world to explore, but I'm just like I don't have time to like get into that because it's just it
You don't want to climb any more walls?
right.
I can't remember if I talked about that on an episode or not. I played that one. It was one of the games that was like available on Game Pass when I first got my Xbox, and it's a lot of fun. But I was going through it, and you can see the map and everything you haven't uncovered yet.
Right.
And I had spent like 20 hours or so, and my map was like barely uncovered. So I went and looked, and it's like 90 or 95 hour game, and I was like, whoa, for Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, no, that's too much. And the part of the problem is there's so much about those games that are just meaningless.
Yeah.
Like not even that they're side quests. Like it's just their point. Like it's just there to be a collectible for you to collect.
Yeah.
And it's like just stop. Like I don't know. I feel like it's challenging to continue a game on in the same way and keep it fresh and that it sounds like with Dragon Age they kind of might have been trying to do something and that just fell flat.
Well, I think you can rightly do that if you include the passage of time. There's a couple different series that have played with that idea of like even having like a genealogy of past characters live on. You experience the same world through different eyes. Different things have happened. The biggest issue I think that's risen with this is if you are including modern political context into a world that you have hand built that has no relationship to the world that we live in. Problem number one, from a writer's standpoint. You are guaranteed to break immersion.
Oh, for
if
sure.
You're breaking immersion, if you're breaking immersion in the game, that's one of the main reasons that people play. It's not the only reason.
Yeah.
Certainly not. But if you break immersion by bringing something that doesn't fit in that space in, it doesn't matter what your political feelings are. It's gonna feel off key. The second problem is that if you are trying to make a message fit into a game, it has to fit into that game in the context of the world that you built.
Right.
So again, importing is not going to just break immersion. It's also going to feel like you've discarded the world.
It reads like fanfic.
It does.
Is what it does.
It does. So
it starts to read like fanfic because it becomes, this is what I would want to be like if I was myself in this world, this is what I would be like.
Right.
And so you're inserting yourself into the game world, and it's literally fanfic.
Well, and one pretty neutral example I think that we could use for example of this is like if you wanted to have a discussion about like the problems with owning humans, the problems with slavery. If you were playing this Assassin's Creed Ancient Greece game, the slavery that they had at that time, since it's a historical game, it's attempting to replicate that feel. You couldn't have the same type of abolitionist conversation in that setting with those people, those laws, those customs, those clashes of culture that you would have in like the American South in the middle of the 19th century.
Right.
They're not in the same setting. They're not in the same context. You can tell a really compelling story. Let's grab like Spartacus, for example. You could tell a really compelling story about someone in slavery overcoming, finding liberation and freedom. Spartacus is a very different story than 12 Years a Slave.
Right.
And that's exactly the issue here. It's like if you want to talk about something that affects people today, and you've built a world that's not today's world, You have to figure out how to talk about it in that world.
You
And
have, you have to contextualize it to that world.
I don't think enough game writers are thinking about things that way.
I don't think any writers are thinking about that.
They ought
honestly.
to be. That's how you do good writing.
The thing is,
that's the problem. We don't do good writing.
like,
anymore.
I should be very clear. The thing is, even if you 100% agree with the politics that they're injecting,
right?
it's still, like you said, it breaks immersion. It's all of a sudden I'm not in that world anymore.
It's not the right platform. When you're telling a story, just straight out saying what you want your audience to think never works anyway. That's the whole show don't tell.
One of the things that was really, really well done in Dragon Age Inquisition is there were, I think 2, maybe 3, like, factions that you could side with that were very political in that setting.
Right.
And so, like, they had their own world. The way you're describing it, Daniel, is perfect. They had their own established world, and so to, like, bring this thing in just breaks it.
Like I said,
it doesn't work.
It makes it feel like fanfic when you do stuff like that.
And
it's just bad.
My thing with politics is that politics is always about interest. It always exists to protect somebody's interest in an arena, and that's why this feels so unnatural. I'm assuming is that the people of the Dragon Age setting. I made a joke there. Like, they may not have the same interests that people in the United States in the year of our Lord 2024 have, and so you could very well find a story or build a story that would suit the feeling you're trying to evoke without just making bad writing choices.
Yeah.
So
That definitely sounds like they're to borrow a phrase from television, jumping the shark a little bit.
yeah.
What I did in order to at least talk about it is I watched some people play it on Twitch, and they'd be going along and be like, okay, they're just playing a Dragon Age game, and then this thing just pops up out of nowhere. It's like, what are we talking about? Why are we? Where did that come from?
Why is this an issue?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it just felt very unnatural.
So it sounds like there's some problems with the writing with Dragon Age over at BioWare, which, that's,
just very disappointing. Cause,
that is really too bad. That is.
I've talked a lot on this show about I love Mass Effect. I love Dragon Age.
Man, I want to go play Mass Effect now.
So good.
I've not beaten the third game yet.
I've never played it. Go figure, right?
Role-playing game. You know, actually, Josh, I think you might be able to get through this one because they have like a casual mode or like a story mode. You just basically can't die.
Okay.
And it's not turn-based.
Okay. Well, I actually have them for the Xbox 360.
They're really good.
At least the first 2.
They're so good.
It's a lot of fun.
They're so good.
I logged some hours onto Mass Effect 1 and 2.
Maybe if I get some free time.
Do it. Oh, well, then Josh won't be playing.
Well, moving on to games that have been played.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, let's. So I mentioned a few episodes back that I had beaten 2 games.
You did.
In the time that, and so one of them was the Zelda game that I discussed, and then the other game that I beat was I didn't want to cover it at the time because I had talked about this franchise previously. I talk about this franchise a lot.
I wonder what it could be.
And I have a thing.
He does have a thing.
I have a thing. So, and especially since so I've talked about Metroid Prime, the remake that they did.
Yep.
A few months back. So earlier this year. Was that this year? That was this year, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Good gracious, that's wild. Anyway. So I talked about that and how much I love that game, and how great that game was, and the remake was great. And then I got my Wii set back up, and I was like, man, it'd be great to go back and try to play through the other Metroid Prime games. So I played Metroid Prime 2 on the Wii. So I have like the trilogy, Metroid Prime trilogy, which is like a collector's edition thing, which is actually really expensive now. But I have it, and so it's all motion controls. It's all motion controls as the Wii, so it's all aiming and stuff like that. And I've tried to go back several times and play through Metroid Prime 2. Like, I've played Metroid Prime 1 tons. And every time I beat Metroid Prime, I try to go on to Metroid Prime 2, and I'm just like, this game is so annoying, and I hate it, and I can't figure out where to go or what to do, and I just quit. I never make it far.
I quit.
I felt that way about Metroid Prime 3, honestly.
I never make it far in Metroid Prime 2. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to play through, like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play through Metroid Prime 2. And it's a lot less confusing than I remember. So there's that. And I think part of that is when I've this is something that I've realized. The Metroid games are all kind of designed the same way, and the more you play Metroid games, the more the game actually starts to make sense.
You kind of get the joke, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think what it was is I would play Metroid Prime 1, and that one made a lot of sense. Like, the way that one kind of plays out, I kind of knew, I figured out where to go and kind of knew how it played. Metroid Prime 2, I hadn't played as many Metroid games, and I didn't understand like what I was supposed to do, and I kept trying to find something in a place where I needed to leave the place and come back later. And that's a common trope in Metroid games.
That happens often, yes.
And it's not when I was playing previously, I didn't realize that was a thing. Like, I didn't recognize, oh, okay, got it.
I'm going to ignore this genre-defining trope.
Right. So it was still a little confusing, and I don't love it. But it's not as confusing and complicated as I made it out to be for so many years. It's not as good as the first one, but they added in some things, some more weapon type things that were really cool, that are kind of classic Metroid things that I know now are classic things, that I didn't at the time when I was originally playing it. One thing that did drive me nuts is that I always felt like I needed a save point, and there was never one around.
Fair.
There was never a save point when I needed one, and it took like getting to a save point was just like pulling teeth. It was really frustrating. So yeah, there's that. There's also the fact that there was one boss battle that I had that I beat the boss, and then the game glitched on me. I needed to be able to lay, like, you know, you lay a bomb and it makes you jump up, right? Like, it bounces you in the air. I couldn't lay the bomb. Like, for whatever reason, like, all of my buttons were working, like, everything was fine, but I couldn't lay a bomb. Like, I went into the ball, tried to lay a bomb, wouldn't work, so I could not escape the room that I was trapped in. After I beat the boss, and I hadn't saved.
Oh,
because
man.
I couldn't find a save point. Before I went in, so I had to restart and be like, okay, like, hopefully this doesn't glitch out the same way.
Work.
Like, unfortunately it didn't, but that was a really, like, so I don't know if that's a programming thing, like a programming problem with the game, going back, you know, decades, or if it's just like, okay, this game's old, and like now there are glitches in it that wouldn't have been in there otherwise. Like, yeah. I don't know, but there's that. I do appreciate the motion controls. I think that is for this particular series of games. The Metroid Prime games, I think, are prime for utilizing the Wii and the pointing and the, you know, and making that a thing. I think that is really cool, and it added a layer to it,
yeah, that
isn't there when you're just you know, doing traditional first person shooter type things. So I thought that was kind of cool. You know, overall it's like I said, not as good as the first one, but not as complicated as I remember it. Something that kind of rhymed with me, because I mentioned the last game I reviewed was Twilight Princess, which is such a great game. Again, amazing. There's some rhyming things that are kind of going on between Twilight Princess and Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, which I found interesting.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
And it got me thinking, like, I feel like Nintendo kind of does this a lot, where there's this light world and this dark world, and you kind of go in between them. And so anyway, I'll give a brief overview of the story, I guess. So Samus crash lands on the planet, and because there was a distress signal from well, she doesn't crash land. She lands on the planet. Because there was a distress signal, she goes, and there are these Federation agents who have been taken over by this dark material on this planet, and they are like zombies. So it starts off kind of like a horror game, which is kind of cool and kind of creepy. And as you go along, you find out that this planet that you've landed on has been kind of split between two dimensions. One's the dark dimension and one's the light dimension, and you have to try to the goal is to bring them back together. But you've got Dark Samus from the original Metroid Prime that has developed and is now kind of gallivanting across the galaxy, apparently. That is kind of trying to get all of the... that's trying to collect Phazon to become more powerful and do the things that Dark Samus wants to do for whatever reasons. Dark Samus is trying to do the things. It all makes sense in the game, right? So that's kind of the brief overview, and you gotta go back and forth between the dark and the light world to try to bring them back into one thing and to make it a whole planet again. And so that allows you to do some cool stuff where there are some areas that you can access in the dark world that you can't access in the light world, some areas that you can access in the light world that you can't in the dark world, and just depending on how far you've gotten in the game, like if you can get there in the dark world, then you can come back out into the light world in that same area. And so for collectibles and upgrades and things like that adds some added cool stuff. My kids love it. My son really loves it. He wants me to be Samus all the time now. So, Dad, be Samus. Dad, be Samus. Can you be Samus? So if he's not asking me to be Link, he's asking me to be Samus. If he's not asking me to be Mario. So, so there's that. And that, I think it's important to have strong female role models. So, it's good that, he's got that.
What? Samus is a female?
Right.
What is this, 1985? Come on, Ryan.
Spoilers.
But, it's fun. It's really fun. I have a good time with it. And so I'm looking forward to Metroid Prime 4 when that comes out next year. And so I'll probably be playing Metroid Prime 3 at some point soon and talking about that. So we'll see.
So They did the Metroid Prime remake for Switch.
Yes.
Did I borrow that one from you?
You did.
First person shooter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you did.
Is the whole Prime series first person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the same. Yeah. It's all kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Very good.
Now one thing, obviously one of the things that is great, or that's a fun little collectible thing with the Metroid Prime games, you have your scanner and you can scan all the things to try to get 100% of your logbook filled up.
Yep.
One of the things that did annoy me, you fight Dark Samus 4 times, and I think there are 8 different Dark Samus scans. So it's all the same character, but you have to scan the character 8 times.
Yeah.
Well, that seems grossly unfair.
Right. And so the first time I fought it, I was like, oh, I missed the scan on that. And I was like, and I could have not saved, gone back, and then scanned it. But I saved because I was like, I'll get it. I know I'm gonna fight Dark Samus again. I know that's not the only fight I have with Dark Samus.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to scan it again. Well, when I scanned it the second time, when I scanned Dark Samus, it's Dark Samus 2.
Yep.
So I missed the Dark Samus 1 scan. And that made me mad because it was like at that point it's been way beyond.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh.
That's just rude.
Yeah, and it's that's probably not the only thing that I missed on this game, but that's one of those things in that kind of situation where it's like you have a boss fight, you miss the scan, and you're like, oh,
so close.
So that's a frustration. But that's just stupid. So. So yeah, that's I enjoyed it much more than I did in my original playthroughs of it. It's still more annoying to me than Metroid Prime. One of the things about the Dark World is that one of the things that is really annoying is if you're in the Dark World, you take damage.
Steady.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you just take damage, and you have to be in these certain light areas to be protected from the poison of the atmosphere of the Dark World, and it's just really, really aggravating for the majority of the game. And it's not as bad as I remembered it being. I remembered it being much more annoying than it was. Because you get suit upgrades, and the suit upgrades help you, with that, and decrease the amount of damage that you take. But it still is incredibly annoying. Yeah.
Well, no, that makes sense. We got a touch of that with Tears of the Kingdom with the gloom mechanics.
Right.
But,
yeah.
Yep.
Like that was pretty avoidable.
Right.
Like consistent atmospheric damage is annoying. Pretty much, no matter what game series you're playing, no matter what Yeah. I get it.
But, I mean, because it becomes this thing where it's like you have to strategize, how you're going to get, how much damage are you willing to take?
Yeah.
And then you're gonna get into your light bubble, and you'll the cool thing is while you're in the light bubble, you heal. Mm-hmm. But you have to stand to stand in the light bubble and wait to heal, and it's just like, come on, so it's kind of like how much damage I'm willing to take till I can get back to the light world and maybe find a save point that will give me, or find a save point in the Dark World. So there's that. But
seems like the only way for Nintendo to make this right is to just go ahead and officially announce the Metroid movie that we all are waiting on them to announce. So.
Metroid is really one of that is honestly,
it's got to be done.
It is ripe for a movie. I don't know how you could.
If the Zelda movie does well, Metroid will follow.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm honestly surprised they're doing Zelda before Metroid.
Me too.
It may be just how well known the IP is.
Understandably.
I feel like Zelda is probably more of a household name than
absolutely.
Metroid, but you're right. All of the Metroid games are kind of primed for an excellent live action adaptation.
Yeah. Well, and the thing with Zelda is you have to make a decision, right?
Does he talk? No,
what storyline are you gonna go with?
Yeah.
For Zelda, what Link are you going to choose? How are you going to how do you adapt that to be good? Metroid,
or do you make a bad choice and try to shove a bunch of different games lore into one story?
Yep.
Right.
Which I imagine they do with an Ocarina of Time movie. Hey, let me tell you about Skyward Sword. Oh, here we are now in Ocarina of Time. Let me tell you how the timelines work. Oh,
yeah.
We broke our audience.
Yeah, no, I feel like that would be... So that's the problem I foresee with the Zelda movie. Metroid is very straight. You can... Because the lore is more synchronized. Mm-hmm. The story for Metroid is very flat. There aren't all of these different levels that you could choose or go with.
Yeah.
So any way that you go with that, it's going to work.
I had a very funny image pop into my mind of someone trying to make a Metroid movie of all of the extant games, and justifying Samus losing her powers 7 times within the course of the movie.
And she lost them again.
And they're gone. You have to go through this planet and collect all of your powers again.
Oh, you have all your powers now? Choose not to use them.
Right. Oh my gosh. Don't remind me about that. I'd forgotten about that. Oh man. Anyway. So yeah, Metroid Prime 2, good game. I really do hope that that they release the second and third Metroid Prime games on the Switch as remasters, because that would only make sense. I don't know that they're actually going to, but
I hope they do, so that I can borrow them from you, like I did before.
Yep, for sure. Mm-hmm. So that's gonna be it for my review there of Metroid Prime 2.
there you go.
Daniel, do you have something for us?
You know, I've been doing some digging at my parents' house and kind of taking a waltz down memory lane. And what I realized is, you know, previously I thought that the Game Boy Advance and the Nintendo DS were like, okay, these were formative systems for me. Like, I spent an awful lot of time with these. Surely those were the games that, like, built my love of handheld gaming. And what I realized is that is, in fact, not true. And, yeah, I have a huge love of the Game Boy Color that I had completely forgotten about.
Nice.
The Game Boy Color is so awesome.
Like, well, a lot of these games I just assumed that they were, you know, Game Boy cartridges because, you know, I'm not paying attention to the nice Technicolor logo in the upper right hand corner of the game.
Right.
But, like, I mean, for one thing, the second generation Pokemon games were like
So
my
good.
entry in.
So good.
I stumbled my way through Red and Blue at like all of, I don't know, 5 years old. That was a disaster. I don't even know how I got where I was. Like, nothing made sense. I could barely read. Like, it was great.
Button mashing. I choose this thing. I know when I choose that shaped thing, it makes the attack work.
And then
I don't
you have
know.
to deal with the fact that, you know, at that age, you don't understand that impassable walls are actually there to keep you from getting to areas that there's no stuff in, and there's not a secret way to get into that area. And maybe when you're older, you won't try to, you know, waste hours of your
Spend
life
so much time
trying to get around a barrier that doesn't have a way around. But I have very fond memories of, you know, Gold, Silver, and Crystal, and I took the opportunity to, you know, pick up some of the games. Like definitely some of my favorites, like Dragon Warrior 1 and 2 cartridge bundle, as well as Dragon Warrior 3, which we all now know and love as Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
Because
Sure, we all know that.
we decided it's okay to call games what they're actually named, in the contextualization into North American markets. But yeah, so I've started a new run of Crystal on my
Nice.
old Game Boy Color. The cartridge battery still works. The Game Boy Color works fine, and that has been such a fun trip down nostalgia lane. Like the first Pokemon game that like lets you go back to the place you just came from with the previous installment, and it's got, you know, day and night feature, which that was crazy
gosh.
for
When
a Game Boy game. Like,
I remember vividly when I figured that out on Gold and Silver, the day-night cycle. I was like, this is the greatest thing they've ever done in gaming. I just couldn't believe it.
When I picked up my third generation games, like, I was so crushed that was a feature they removed.
Yeah.
It was like, you have better graphics, more Pokemon, better computing power. This is a new system, and you took away this bit of flavor.
It was so cool.
It just...
I wish our listeners could see us, because Josh looks so lost right now.
I'm hurting Josh.
True.
Hurting his heart.
So
Daniel and I are geeking out, and
I'm
Josh is like, what is happening?
I'm assuming that the day and night features means that there are different Pokemon available, like depending on if it's daytime or nighttime.
So that part is true.
Okay.
Yes.
It's true.
But more importantly, it was just stinking cool.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Much more importantly.
Okay.
Now, okay, so I remember it being awesome, but here's what I don't remember. I sort of... Maybe I'm just totally dreaming this up. I sort of vaguely remember that the day and night time was based on, like, your actual time. Is that true?
Vaguely.
Or was it...
So this was what was cool about it. It didn't have like a system time to pull that data from.
Yeah.
So the first part of the game, you actually have to tell it, you know, what time of day is it?
Right.
What day of the week is it? Is it daylight savings time or not? And it would run that
Yeah.
consistently.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
that's brilliant.
Exactly. Now you're getting it, Josh.
Oh, that's tricky.
It's not like the way that Minecraft does day and night cycles, where you have 7 minutes a day,
Yeah,
7
just
minutes
loops,
in life.
loops.
No, this was like, if the only time you can play is like late afternoon after school, you're gonna see the sunset in Pokemon every single night.
No.
So you play Pokemon Gold at noon and it's daytime. Then you play it at night in your bed. It's nighttime on the game. It was amazing.
It was so cool. Like,
now you see coolest thing ever.
That is nuts.
Yeah, it was so cool.
That is nuts.
And like there may have been other games that tried to do something like that previously. I'm sure like the Super Nintendo had some Gee Whiz game that went that route. But like,
I don't know.
On the Game Boy Color,
it's just remarkable.
It was like Nintendo, I think, has historically done a very good job with first party games maxing out the performance of the system. Like I see that with Tears of the Kingdom versus Breath of the Wild. It's like, wow, you fit a whole nother bunch of junk under the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
On an open world game that was already probably hitting the limits of the system to begin with. Like with this, they made such creative use of the sprites. Everything looked clean. Everything was like very well designed. And then you got to experience it in the daytime. You got to experience it in the nighttime.
So this is how cool it was. I can vividly remember this. I didn't really realize it was happening. And then there was a Pokemon that it's an owl. I mean, it resembled an owl.
Yeah.
You could only catch it at night.
Yes.
And I caught the owl Pokemon at night, and I was like, that is just so cool. It's so smart. Like, it just all clicked in my little kid mind as, like, the owl is up at night because that's what owls do. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
That is wild.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
So is there anything in the game that kind of gives that away? That, like, hints at that? Like, other than the fact that it does, like...
I mean,
do they
explicitly? I don't remember. So like,
because like I can imagine a scenario in which like someone is literally only allowed to play the game like for certain certain times of the day.
Good job, responsible parents.
Right. Like I can imagine that scenario, especially in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Like where that was a thing, and like they were just like, yeah, no, you can play from 3 until 5, and that's it. Like. Those are the only times you get your Game Boy. And, like, you never get, like,
So, I'm going to show you a picture so that you can kind of see a difference. There was this, like Daniel was saying, if you didn't know, if you didn't have a comparison, you may not know. But there was this blue shade. So, like, that's nighttime, that's daytime.
Yeah.
And so, if you only ever got to play at a certain time, you wouldn't see it.
Right.
You wouldn't know. But if you played at different times, you're like, wait a minute, it's dark. What's happening
is it
here?
dark? Yeah. That's wild.
Well, and what I really enjoyed about this is like this is before people like got really good at Pokemon. Like a Pokemon game comes out now, everybody's like, oh man, I got this. This is old hat.
Yeah.
I know the drill. I know they're changing the formula up a little bit with the open world stuff and the Pokemon being on the overworld map rather than just random encounters. But like people understand the formula now. With the second release, like you got through the first game, you understood. Okay, you fight the gym leaders, you catch you catch the little monsters in the grass. Okay, but so much of it was still opaque that it felt like you were really exploring with this one. And then for them to turn around and be like, oh yeah, like that Kanto region that you just played the whole game about, you can go back there and everything's different.
Yep.
And
wow.
Like
this I think is one of the things that does, to your point, Daniel, this is one of those things that does really set Nintendo apart, and it's why Nintendo wins the console wars.
In the appliance wars.
Right.
Sorry.
That inside joke on that one. But they will win the appliance wars. But they take, whatever they do maximize the effectiveness of it.
Yep.
Like, the idea, like going all the way back to the NES, the idea that you could save your progress in any game like, no, like, you can't do that. You can't save progress. Like, you play through the game, you beat it, and you have to restart. Like, unless you have, the first thing they did
was the password.
Was the passcode.
Yep.
And maybe someone had done that before.
I remember
maybe someone had done that
Sega
before.
Genesis games that still had passwords as their system. Like,
yeah. And so you get the password. You have to put the password in. No, well, what if we put a battery in it, and then that, like, and you say, like, and I don't know, I don't have a clue as to how it works, but, like,
you will if they break.
Right, right. But yeah, and a lot of times those batteries still work, 40 years later, and it's like, and you can still save your Zelda games. Now, I don't know if that's still the case. I haven't tried to save on a new Zelda cartridge lately from the NES, but, like, just taking steps constantly to go, like, well, what if we did this differently? Like, and the way that they would trick things into being, multi-dimensional when they weren't. And just, like you said, squeezing every ounce out of their consoles. Like, everything that they could do. This is the limitations that we're stuck with, but what can we do to squeeze every little bit out of it? And just figuring out those little tweaks that they can make. And this whole, like, day-night thing, like, that is brilliant. Like, I don't even care. Cool. That's brilliant.
Well, it was so interesting, too, because I talked a little bit about how frustrated I was with Red and Blue. Like, there were these places I couldn't get to, these impassable walls. What's cool about this is, like, there are places in the first game's map that you can now go to and, like, traverse freely. Like the Indigo Plateau, where you go and you fight the Elite Four, and that's kind of the climax of the game. That whole area is completely different because that's now a shared area in between these regions. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the places on that were just barriers that were just not explorable are now, like, places you can go around, catch Pokemon, do battles. But on top of all that, they really amped up the mystery. Like, the original Pokemon game was very, very 90s. I wouldn't say that it gets anywhere close to like a cyberpunk level of dystopia, but, like, it was kind of grungy.
Okay.
And then you go to the second game, and there's so much nature. And, like, you're exploring ancient ruins, you're exploring, like, sea pathways, which there's some ocean routes in the first game too, but, like, the whole deal with, like, Celebi being the guardian of the forest, and there's all this, like, it's the first time that a legendary feels like a legend and not just a super powerful Pokemon. Like, the issue with Mewtwo's not a legendary Pokemon, he's a science experiment gone wrong. Mew, kind of. The three birds, kinda. But, like, finding Zapdos in an electrical plant doesn't feel like a mythological encounter.
Yeah.
It feels like science fiction kind of gone off rails.
Yeah, you just gotta, like, get there, essentially.
So I think they did a good job kind of, like, tapping into an era of mystery. Like, there is a nighttime to explore. There is a place for you to go into the darkness and find the new stuff. And yeah, I'm really excited to play through it again.
Yeah, I have vivid memories of. So I think I was 12, and my brother was 10. I got gold. He got silver for Christmas, and we got a strategy guide for it also. And I have vivid memories. We would, like, sneak up at night to, like, go play because we knew certain Pokemon were only available at night or whatever. So we would, like, and we had the system link cable.
Yep.
So we would sneak up and, like, we would have our blankets pulled over our heads.
Gosh, this is such a familiar
because parents don't know, But no, I have these vivid memories, and just I'm sure Nintendo didn't intend for me to break my parents' rules, but I totally did. I was like, I'm getting up, and
they decidedly knew.
What was really cool is, like, I think it held up really well as the remake. Like, Heart Gold and Soul Silver were fantastic. I thought those were really good reinterpretations. But the thing that was missing there is that, like, they held your hand a little bit too much. It felt a little bit too user friendly, a little bit too shiny. It was actually a benefit that the limitations of the system. It kind of added to the world that they created.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
Awesome.
That's so cool.
So
that
awesome.
really is cool. So nostalgia wins out today, for sure, as it does in most of our episodes. We especially lately. I feel like we got to get back into some new games. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the new games all suck. I'm gonna keep playing old games. That's gonna
keep buying the new ones.
Yeah, I'll keep buying the new ones. That's right. I've got so many games to play. I don't. Yeah.
Do you not have time to game?
I don't have time to game. Maybe when I retire, I'm just gonna sit around and I'm gonna start a Twitch channel if Twitch is still a thing, of the retiree, the retiree backlog or something like that, where I just play all of these old games that I've never played that I've had for forever.
Like some people take up golf, and Josh is just gonna play video games.
I'm playing games from the 90s.
Back when cartoons were good and a can of Coke would keep you up all night.
Okay, Grandpa, let's get you to bed.
It's time for that. No, leave me alone. I gotta play my game. Where's my Sega Saturn?
Oh man.
All right, but I think that's gonna do it on this episode of the Dead Tired Dads podcast. We appreciate your ears and also your willingness to listen to Ryan talk about food.
Woo!
In appreciation for that, do all the things.
Please do.
That's right.
Like, share, subscribe, rate, and tell your friends. Pass out a sticker or something. If you need a sticker, I can get you one. Thanks again for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode of the Dead Tired Dads podcast.
Bye.
See ya.
I'm gonna love this. I
This is
know
so
I'm
great.
gonna love it.
It's what the people want, right?
It's what the people want. It's what they need.
There he was.
This is so awesome that we're what? This is nothing wrong with this. It's an oatmeal cream pie. Tastes like an oatmeal cream pie. If there's supposed to be some revelation coming for me, I'm waiting for it. Because right now I'm just eating an oatmeal cream pie. Delicious.
Okay.
Huh.
Huh?
Huh.
Huh?
We did science.
We did science. We did a science.
We did.